Donald Trump is killing, thousands of Americans by giving them duff advice, and his macho, I'm all right, look at me, I've an absolute buffoon. He has no place in the White House. He's an embarrassment, and he should be ashamed of himself, especially when thousands of Americans have died. Serious disease, it's a serious pandemic. People have died, loved ones have died, and he's an absolute disgrace, and so is Boris Johnson for not being able to even know his own rules. I think they're both...
We're on the road to 10,000 subscribers, and we couldn't have done it without you. Thank you for your incredible support. To celebrate, we're giving away £1,000 to 10 lucky winners, £100 each. Here's how to enter. Subscribe to our channel. Like this post. Drop your postcode in the comments. Once we hit 10,000 subscribers, we'll randomly select the winners. Don't miss your chance to be part of the £1,000 giveaway. Start now, and it could be you. The UK Labour Party called Trump a buffoon and said he should be ashamed of himself. This wasn't just a passing remark, it was a deliberate jab aimed squarely at the former president's character and actions. Rayner's criticism wasn't random either. It's part of her ongoing strategy to paint Trump as someone out of touch with the values that the Labour Party stands for, especially as they continue to appeal to progressive voters.
Very interestingly...
Well, quiet. Him and Donald Trump are competing.
Yeah, I know. Well, we'll come to Mr. Trump in a moment.
Who's the biggest idiot?
We'll come to the president in a moment. Which one's the blithering idiot?
No, who's the biggest idiot, Angela Rayner?
Well, who
would you say
Who do you think is the biggest idiot?
I mean, it's tough competition, if I'm honest. It's really tough competition. I mean, we've got the highest death rates in Europe, and Donald Trump is killing, thousands of Americans by giving...
But while many in her corner might cheer her bluntness, others are asking, was this the right approach? Critics argue that such harsh words could backfire, especially in terms of diplomacy. After all, Trump might be out of office, but the UK's relationship with the US is still fragile. With the US being one of the UK's closest allies, openly calling a former president a buffoon could send the wrong message, especially when the Labour Party is working to mend any strained relations.
It's like we're not going to have a very good relationship. Who knows? I hope to have a good relationship with him, but it sounds like he's not willing to address the problem.
The comment sparked mixed reactions. Some applauded Rayner for standing firm in her beliefs and not letting Trump's controversial legacy slide. However, others questioned if such an aggressive stance was wise, fearing it could worsen UK-US relations. At the end of the day, Rayner's bold attack is a sign that the Labour Party is distancing itself from Trump, but whether this is a smart move for international relations remains to be seen.
Britain's been a great ally.
Would we be front of the queue with a Donald Trump?
Well, I don't want to say front or anything else. I mean, I'm going to treat everybody fairly, but it wouldn't make any difference to me whether they were in the EU or not.
We wouldn't be back of the queue
You
for
would
trade.
certainly not be back.
Angela Rayner's latest jab at Donald Trump is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to her history of criticizing the former president. This isn't the first time she's publicly called him out, and it certainly won't be the last. Over the years, Rayner has been vocal about her disapproval of Trump's policies, his divisive rhetoric, and his controversial leadership style. She's consistently slammed his handling of global issues, particularly his approach to climate change, international relations, and immigration. One of the most pointed criticisms came when she called Trump's treatment of women disgusting, highlighting his sexist comments and behavior throughout his time in office. Rayner didn't hold back, making it clear that his conduct was completely out of line with the values she believes in. For her, Trump represented everything wrong with populist right-wing politics. This pattern of sharp attacks raises the question, is Rayner's rhetoric part of a broader Labour Party strategy to stand firm against Trump's brand of politics, or does it stem from a more personal standpoint? Some may argue it's a political tactic to rally the progressive base, especially with Labour aiming to distance itself from Trump's influence. Others, however, might see Rayner's criticism as a personal vendetta against a figure who embodies everything she opposes. Whatever the reason, it's clear that this isn't the last time we'll hear her voice raised in opposition to Trump's politics. Keir Starmer, the leader of the Labour Party, has made it clear where he stands when it comes to Donald Trump. In no uncertain terms, Starmer publicly stated that he would refuse to meet with the former president. This is more than just a personal preference, it's a strong political statement. Starmer's refusal to engage with Trump highlights the ideological chasm between the Labour Party's progressive values and Trump's conservative populist agenda. For Starmer, Trump represents everything Labour aims to oppose, from divisive rhetoric to policies that clash with Labour's stance on issues like immigration and social justice.
He doesn't know me, never met me, doesn't know what I'm all about. I think they're very rude statements, and frankly, tell him I will remember those statements. I think it's...
Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London, has also been an outspoken critic of Trump. From the moment Trump took office, Khan wasn't shy about calling out his controversial views on Muslims, immigration, and minorities. Khan's public criticisms, especially his outspoken opposition to Trump's ban on Muslim-majority countries, have created a tense relationship between the two. Trump, of course, didn't hesitate to fire back, labelling Khan as a disaster for London. The back and forth between the two is a prime example of the tension that runs deep between UK political leaders and Trump's administration.
How do you feel about him talking about your government like that?
What is the first truly Islamist country that will get a nuclear weapon? And we were like, maybe it's Iran, maybe Pakistan already kind of counts. And then we sort of finally decided maybe it's actually the UK, since Labour just took over.
I think he said quite a lot of fruity things in the past as well. Look, I don't recognise that characterisation. I'm very proud of the election success that Labour had recently. We won votes across all different communities across the whole of the country, and we're interested in governing on behalf of Britain and also working with our international allies. So I look forward to that meeting if that is the result, and it's up to the American people to decide.
Rayner, Starmer and Khan form a unified Labour front in their refusal to accommodate Trump's rhetoric or influence. Their collective stance sends a strong message that the UK's Labour Party is determined to maintain its distance from the former president and his brand of politics. Whether this creates a lasting divide in UK-US relations or strengthens Labour's commitment to progressive values remains to be seen. But one thing is clear, they're not backing down. When Mike Pence, Donald Trump's former vice president, visited the UK, his criticism of the Labour government was hard to ignore. Pence took aim at the Labour Party's economic policies, specifically targeting its stance on trade and fiscal responsibility. He also criticised its approach to global issues. His remarks painted the UK leadership in a less than flattering light, suggesting that Labour was too out of step with the needs of both the UK and its international allies. It wasn't just a passing comment. This was a diplomatic moment that raised eyebrows and caused a stir within UK political circles.
Of course, I wouldn't want Donald Trump round for dinner, but don't underestimate the danger to the world if Trump is re-elected this time around. I'm anti-Trump. I would like to send my warmest congratulations to President Trump on his inauguration as the 47th President of the United States.
Angela Rayner's response to Pence's remarks, however, didn't exactly calm the waters. Rather than responding with the seriousness and diplomatic tact expected of a senior political figure, Rayner's reaction came off as unprofessional and, some would say, childish. Instead of engaging with Pence's criticisms in a measured way, she laughed them off, almost as if dismissing the very serious concerns raised by the former vice president. Many saw this as a poor move, given the weight of the situation and the global audience watching.
Buffoon, ashamed of themselves, embarrassment. I think that woman needs to look in a blimmin' mirror. Maybe Lord Ali can afford to buy her one. The problem we have here, of course, is this isn't the first time in recent months that senior figures who are now, in America, who are going to be part of the Trump administration, have been looking at what's going on in Britain, whether it's talking about the clampdown on free speech. Elon Musk has gone to town on that one. Joe Rogan, the biggest podcast that you could listen to in the world, has been really making a big noise about what he sees as authoritarian rule in the UK. Add to that these extremely sort of toxic, irresponsible, reckless and unprofessional comments. I don't care whether it's coming from someone on the opposition benches and what position they held or didn't hold. It's just not becoming.
Her so-called superhero laugh, which some critics described as overconfident and out of place, quickly became a point of ridicule. It was as if she was brushing off Pence's criticisms as nothing more than playground taunts. This dismissive attitude led many to question her credibility on the international stage. In the eyes of critics, it undermined the Labour Party's position, making Rayner appear less like a political leader and more like someone unprepared for the gravity of global diplomacy. Donald Trump is not the kind of man who forgives and forgets. If there's one thing he's known for, it's holding grudges. The Labour Party has spent years publicly attacking him, from Angela Rayner calling him a buffoon to Sadiq Khan and Keir Starmer openly rejecting him. Now, with Trump eyeing a possible return to the White House, the big question is, how can he ever sit down with these same UK leaders and pretend none of it happened? Trump himself has made it clear he remembers his critics. When Sadiq Khan repeatedly insulted him, Trump fired back, warning the London mayor that he would remember the words he had said. This isn't just political rhetoric, it's Trump's personal style. He sees attacks as personal betrayals, and if history has shown anything, it's that he rarely lets them slide. Labour leaders might want to mend fences if Trump regains power, but can they really expect him to ignore years of hostility?
it, shall we say. So I do think that it's going to be really interesting to see what happens there. Donald Trump is obviously a very mercurial operator. We all remember what happened with Kim Darroch, the former ambassador to the US, when Donald Trump, it turns out he'd made disparaging comments, leaked cables, and Donald Trump tweeted about it, and he was gone within 72 hours. So I think that that's a challenge to any prime minister, particularly one of the soft left, which Keir Starmer is. And so it's going to be interesting to see how a very conservative Republican and a very social democrat Labour prime minister do work.
Of course, politics isn't just about personal feelings, it's also about strategy. Both the US and the UK rely on each other, so diplomacy may eventually force both sides to cooperate. But with deep-rooted animosities, any meeting between Trump and Labour leaders wouldn't just be awkward, it would be layered with tension. Would Trump make them sweat? Would he remind them of every insult? One thing is certain, Trump never forgets, and the Labour Party might soon realise just how much that matters. The UK and the US have always been close allies, but that relationship feels more fragile than ever. With Labour leaders taking repeated jabs at Donald Trump, the tension between the two nations is hard to ignore. The problem? This isn't just about political disagreement, it's about the long-term consequences for the UK. The US isn't just another country, it's one of Britain's most important allies. From security cooperation to trade deals, the UK relies heavily on maintaining a strong relationship with Washington. But with Labour leaders openly opposing Trump, could this alliance be in serious trouble? If Trump makes a comeback, things could get even more complicated. He has no reason to forget the insults thrown at him by figures like Angela Rayner, Keir Starmer, and Sadiq Khan. If Trump decides to make things difficult for the UK, the effects could be felt across multiple sectors. Trade deals could stall, intelligence sharing could be strained, and diplomatic cooperation could become awkward at best. Labour's public opposition to Trump may feel good politically in the short term, but what happens when real-world consequences start to unfold?
Alright, it's me, Raver. Now, I'm just sending a quick message to all the people out there because I've been getting a lot of backlash, right, online at the moment, on the socials, because apparently a video of me is resurfaced from, 2020 or something, when I was talking on the TV about Donald Trump, right, because it's been his inauguration and all that, and apparently I said that Trump's an absolute buffoon, right? Now, look, I just want to say, I want to do some fact checking here and make sure that everyone's got the facts, because I know that a lot of people, with the meta platforms and that, are all getting on top of that stuff, right? So I just want to say I'm sorry to the people for misleading you. I shouldn't have said that. I take that back. I'm a politician. I do my best, right? And in the past I've said things how they are, right? But I take it all back. I shouldn't have said it, right? What I meant to say was that Trump is an absolute face, and I'm gonna man, alright? So there. Alright. See you later.
For the British public, this isn't just about political drama, it's about real economic and diplomatic risks. If the UK's relationship with the US weakens, everyday people could see the impact in trade, jobs, and global influence. The big question is whether Labour is thinking ahead. Can they afford to keep burning bridges, or will they regret pushing Trump too far?